Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We have tried to breed all kinds of crustaceans, like these fiddler crabs. We tried to breed these Halloween crabs as well, but were unsuccessful due to how difficult this particular species is to breed. But now they just live in this epic enclosure in the fish room. We were finally successful with these vampire crabs. Here's the babies and their enclosure. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I like to show you that you don't have to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to breed fish, crabs, things of that nature. The last couple of videos, we've actually been breeding ghost shrimp and guppies in little kiddie pools. And today, it's not going to be any different. We're going to show you how to breed colorful Neocaridina shrimp on a budget. So let's get out and get some supplies. Since we're using plastic, we're going to want to clean it. So we're going to use a couple of drops of Blue Dawn dish soap because it'll get the oil off this plastic and it's safe. The most expensive aspect of this entire build is going to be the substrate, and that is because it's fluval stratum. And I use fluval stratum for a couple of reasons. One, it provides refuge for any baby shrimp that may be born, and number two is it actually buffers the pH. The pH in my area is extremely high. A couple of other things we need to use. We're going to use this 3-gang valve, an aerator, a check valve, which is super important, and of course sponge filters. And in fact, if you are in need of a sponge filter that will filter up to a 10-gallon tank, you can find that at freshwaterscrub.com. And in fact, if you use code SHRIMP, you will get 10% off of your entire order. Sponge filters, plants, merchandise, etc. So make sure you visit freshwaterscrub.com and use the code SHRIMP for 10% off. And now it's time to fill these things up, and we're going to be using some RODI water, but the RODI system does not remove the chlorine, so we're going to be using some API Aqua Essential to remove all the chlorine and chloramine. When filling up a tank, I like to lay down a paper towel and actually run the water on top of the paper towel. This prevents the substrate from getting disturbed and dirtying up the water. As I was filling this up, I realized I forgot a very important piece. What this is this is a betta cup top, and you can honestly use any kind of plastic top that you can poke a hole through. And what I do is I slide this down over the aerator hose right over the top of where the bubbles come out of the sponge filter. This allows the bubbles to bust underneath this top, preventing splash up all over everything else. It keeps everything nice and clean. One thing we have not talked about is a heater. And what I need to do now is allow this water to actually heat up to temperature before we start putting shrimp or anything else in here, as this RODI water that is in here is currently about 69 degrees. So we're going to let these sit for just a little while as the temperature in this water raises up to the ambient temperature in this room, which is about 76 degrees. And we're actually going to use a heater to help with that. A heater would be required for breeding these shrimp if you cannot keep the water at around 76 to 80 degrees. Now, granted, the warmer you keep the water, the more prolific the breeding will be. I don't actually have to use a heater because of the ambient temperature in this room. And now for my favorite part. It's time to add some plants. And we're going to start with, well, some of this Christmas moss. Moss makes a great hide for baby shrimp, as well as for shrimp that are going through the molting process to hide. This Christmas moss will sink on its own over time, but if you want to speed that up, just squeeze on it and it'll suck some water up in it and sink immediately. Hornwort is another great plant for shrimp tanks or guppy breeding tanks or anything else you need small babies to hide in. Now we're adding some Java ferns, and Java ferns are a great addition to a shrimp tank as well because they have a nice broad leaf that can house biofilm, which shrimp love to eat. So it's another great plant. And now we're gonna add some Amazon frogbit, one of my favorite floating plants because it's super simple to grow. And if you notice, these plants that I'm putting in here are all super low tech. They don't require any kind of added nutrients or high crazy light or anything like that. They're super low tech, super easy to maintain, and can all be picked up at freshwaterscrub.com. Well, now that we have the plants in here, we're going to take one sponge off of each of these sponge filters, and we're going to actually trade it out for a pre-cycled sponge from other established setups. If you notice on this sponge, it is covered in algae, or as my friend MD Fish Tanks would say, bits of algae. And that is actually great because these shrimp will love to munch on that. So we're gonna leave it. Using pre-cycled sponges allows instant addition of these shrimp. And we're gonna start with these blue velvet shrimp. They are a bright blue color, look super cool, and are super active. And we're gonna go ahead and put these in this middle bin. The acclimation process for each of these shrimp is gonna be exactly the same. I'm just gonna simply put some water from these tubs into this cup, slowly over time until the full amount of water has been replaced, and then I'll just release all of the shrimp directly into the water. The next color we're going with are these golden back yellow neon shrimp. They're super colorful and super active. And finally, we're gonna go in with these red cherry shrimp. Another great looking color, and they are super active as well and so much fun to watch. Alright guys, well these tubs are done. So if we first take a look, we've got these golden back yellow neons, and what makes them so special, they have this like nice golden racing stripe across their back. Super cool looking little shrimp. Over here we have these blue velvets, which are looking fantastic. So cool looking. And then moving to our final tub here, we have red cherry shrimp. And I've noticed that these aren't nearly as active as the blue ones, and in fact the yellow ones aren't as active as the blue ones either. The blue ones are super cool. I think the blue ones are my favorite at this point. What about you guys? Let me know down below. Do you guys keep shrimp? Have you ever bred shrimp? Let me know some cool fact about them. This is the first time I've ever tried to breed any kind of like colorful, cool shrimp. Now, of course, we have our ghost shrimp breeding system. And in fact, if you look right there, there's one on the rock, some more right down there. And then of course we have our guppy breeding tub over here as well. But these guys are super cool. Like, I am so happy with this. I mean, like I can imagine having like 100-gallon tank with just thousands of these blue shrimp in there, or even these yellow ones, or in fact even the red ones. If this goes well, you might find these guys for sale on freshwaterscrub.com, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's go take a look at a couple other things. As we saw a little while ago, the ghost shrimp breeding setup is doing fantastic. We're starting to get some duckweed and frogbit growth in here. We're also starting to grow some of our Christmas moss. Moving over here to the guppy breeding system, This thing is doing fantastic as well. There are guppies everywhere in here. In fact, if we take a real close look, things are so fast, but there's so many fry in here as well. So these things have already started to reproduce, which is fantastic. Moving over here to the 300 gallon, this thing is looking fantastic. Look at our beautiful angelfish and our little German blue rams and our blue and red Colombian tetras. Oh, looky there. That's our big, huge albino rainbow shark. It's one of our bala sharks and some of our lamp-eye or red-eye tetras, the white skirt tetras, our Buenos Aires tetras. Everything in here is looking really, really good. And look at the growth on this hornwort. This stuff is growing all the way to the surface of the water, which is fantastic. It has over here as well off of this stick here and then back down here as well. So if you guys need any jungle val, hornwort, any kind of aquatic plants, make sure you visit freshwaterscrub.com and use the code SHRIMP for 10% off your order. Whoa, Fred, come on, man. This dude is so hungry all the time. I'm telling you, I feel like he would eat all day long if I'd let him. Absolutely, one of my absolute favorite fish I have ever kept in all my time of keeping fish. 100% love my flower horn. And take a look at this terrarium. This was our Halloween terrarium, and this thing is looking fantastic as well. Look at this one as well. This was like our last terrarium we did, but this growth on this terrarium is crazy. This thing has turned out so well. So happy with this thing, and what a great little concept of doing a cool little terrarium in a box that you can just find at a local store. Because I bought this thing at Target and used remnants from other builds for everything in here. And then the plants, these little pony's foot that are all up here in the back that are growing, that is all from my yard. This moss is all from my yard. The only thing in here that's not is the pink vein plant that's up here in the back and this little bit of Christmas moss right here in the corner, but everything else came from my yard. But this thing is looking fantastic as well. Alright guys, well hopefully you went on to enjoy this video today and you enjoyed watching us set up these shrimp breeding setups here. Such a super easy project that is super cheap. And it's just to remind you that you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to breed and keep something cool like these little blue velvet, yellowback, and red cherry shrimp. I mean, such a cool little project that turned out so well. And remember, if you need sponge filters or any of the plants that we used in today's video, make sure you check out freshwaterscrub.com and use the code SHRIMP for 10% off your order. With that, guys, thank you so very much for all the support. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and if you don't mind, go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Links to both are down in the description. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that, as well as turn on your notification bell. And with all that, guys, we truly are grateful. Thank you so very much, and hey, we will see you next time.